He's Star Trek fans.
Oh yes, well.
Orsi and I just worked out the TV show spin-off. It's going to be Star Trek Academy, but we're going to call it Melrose Space. We think it's going to be huge.
Come on, that's a no-brainer. I hope you got that on tape, because he will steal that. Steal that shit from you so fast, your head will spin. Fringe was my idea. Mine.
It totally was, wasn't it? No?
Joking. Totally joking.
How, if at all, will you be involved in Star Trek DOS?
Star Trek DOS. Alex, Bob, and I are writing it together, and I will be producing it in the similar capacity that I did in the first one. I'm looking forward to it because this time I won't have to, I won't have to run in between my Lost duties and my Trek duties. It feels like I'll be able to keep it clean. So yeah, exactly.
Was that really challenging for you to have to go back and forth and keep all the characters and storylines straight?
We were working on Trek at the same time we were starting to work on Lost Season 5 conceptually, and there was just way too much time travel going on in my head. I just was like, I would literally toss and turn at night about paradoxes, and my wife would say, "Why aren't you sleeping?" I was like, "Don't you understand? If Spock goes back in time and tells the original Spock that he has to go help Kirk, that's going to create a paradox." And she was like, "Shut the hell up, please. God, I'm sick. I've heard enough about Desmond and Penny and their time travel conundrums now with the Star Trek." So it was a little nerve-wracking.
I have an idea about how this whole Lost thing is going to end. Let me know how close I am.
Give it up.
They all get rescued. They're on an airplane, and it starts to crash again towards another island, and they're like, "Oh, shit, not again." And then we're just going to have Still Lost.
Oh, wow, Still Lost.
Still Lost, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
As long as one of them...
I'm way off, aren't I?
If one of them can look at the camera when they go, "Oh, no, not again," then you hear, "Wah,
then it'd be
wah."
perfect.
Then the plane, they all fly up in the air, and it freeze frames. That's probably
and then
the
a
best
Muppet
way.
comes out from behind.
Yeah, that's
and then...
the classy way to do it. Absolutely.
I was talking with...
you're onto something.
I was talking with Roberto earlier about pros and cons with putting somebody like Khan in the sequel. What are your pros and cons?
Pros and cons.
Yeah.
That's a clever play on words. Look, I think the con question is a big one, and it's out there, and I think that, our ambition in the sequel is to do some things that people aren't expecting, but you also have to give the fans what they want. So it's sort of walking that line. We brought in a whole new sort of audience to Trek that had never seen it before, who doesn't even know who Khan is. So how would you introduce that character in a new and fresh and exciting way that didn't require them having this incredibly intricate knowledge of Khan's history? So, it's daunting.
He'll be a cross-dresser now, is what it'll be. You'll just
liven
Roberto
him up. Told you that, huh? Well, write what you know.
If you had to compare Sawyer on Lost's love life to any other sort of novel, film, fictional story, which one would you compare it to?
Wow, Sawyer's love life compared to any literary work.
Notebook, Jane Eyre.
Oh wow.
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah,
really.
all way off so far. Perhaps the relationship between Gilligan and the skipper, because there's a lot of hitting on the head with hats and that sort of stuff. Okay, serious. I don't know. I think Wuthering Heights is probably a good model. We got a little Heathcliff action going on. Absolutely.
What can you tell us about the last season of Lost?
Absolutely nothing.
Come on, you got to spill something.
I think it's very exciting for us to basically. It feels like we've been Christmas shopping for 5 years, and we've been accruing all these presents, and we've been locking them up in the closet and not people looking at them. And now there's sort of this sense of, oh my God, do they have one of these already? Did I get the right sizes? What was I thinking when I bought this? Are they even going to like it? So there's a terror there, but at the same time, Christmas is here, and it's time to open up the closet and start unwrapping, and we'll see what happens.
Is this satisfying or sad for you?
A little bit of both. I mean, I think it's been a very emotional journey, and the idea of we're bringing back some familiar faces who were around in the early seasons of the show, and that's creating this real sense of, wow, I can't believe it's been 6 years since we shot that pilot, and it's ending. But it feels like it's the right move. I mean, the idea of actually getting to end the story on our own terms instead of saying we're just going to mostly end it, but then you've got to go and see a movie in 3 years. The fact that this is over is really, really cool, and I think that there's a lot of pride for everybody involved, from the actors to the writers, to the producers, and the ballsiness of the network to take something that people still want to see and take it off the air is really something that I'm incredibly appreciative of.
Speaking of the end, you said you're not coming back to Comic-Con again. When the show says, fades to black for the last time and the screaming starts, how will you address any and all questions that may come up? Or will you never answer those questions at all?
I
trust you. Other people might not.
Look, we're going to be out there doing other stuff, and the fact that I'm talking to you about Lost on the Star Trek DVD rollout, I mean, we have to be held accountable for our actions. I'm not going to go into, hiding. I do employ doubles, though, like Saddam did, so you can never trust that you're talking to the actual Damon Lindelof. That being said, I think what we don't want to do, and Carlton and I talk about this all the time, is explain what our intention was. I think, at a certain point, it doesn't matter what our intention was. The work will speak for itself, and we want the fans to be able to vigorously debate, certain aspects of the show. Some things will be very conclusive. Other things, people will think are more conclusive than we meant them. Some things will be more ambiguous than we meant them. But, it wouldn't be lost if 5 years from now people still weren't arguing over what they wanted it to be.
I was just going to ask, will all of the fans' questions be answered in the last season, but maybe not?
I think that the questions that count will be answered, and the questions that the fans don't want answered won't be answered. But I think that what they're looking for is a real sense of resolution, particularly on a character level. Who's going to live? Who's going to die? Who's going to end up with who? Why were they all brought here in the first place? Was it arbitrary? Is there meaning behind it? That kind of stuff you have to answer, or, you should be prepared to get rocks thrown at you. Sorry.